Threats are a wonderful thing. We're seeing it play out pretty well between San Francisco and Pittsburgh. That Ayuk is threatening to hold out and not play this year, and is now potentially getting traded to Pittsburgh. And what's all that mean? And it's kind of helped generate a little bit of news in the football cycle until we start getting a few more games, which is nice. But one of the more interesting threats we've seen recently is a team in the league saying that if he was not ranked in the top 10 of the power ranks, he was going to blow up his team, which frankly I just love the idea of because it's a very me move. So I'm flattered, Luigi, by the gesture, but now we have to see the outcome. 10 teams did some power ranks, and we got to see where people ended up and what Luigi's going to be doing to his trade bait. But 5 teams on tonight. We got the Vikings, Eagles, Titans, Broncos, and Bengals to start. We'll probably have a few guys rotate out and others rotate in as life happens. But it should be a good conversation about where teams are falling, what's good, what's bad. Oh, and we'll probably talk about trades too. So, guys, looking forward to a fun evening.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Happy to be here, Mike.
And by the way, if people pick up the background noise, Chris is in the shower right now. It's not because he's driving in the rain.
We're in a car.
Look.
See? Look, proof.
I don't know where you got
Chris,
those shower curtains, but they're very impressive.
Yeah. Fitting a car in a shower is crazy.
Seriously. Bengals has that shower car kind of money. Good for him. All right. Jumping into the ranks, though, right now. And I think this is shared in a link on the league page. If not, we'll make sure it's next to the podcast link. But special thanks to myself, Panthers, Giants, Titans, Ravens, Colts, Broncos, Eagles, Buccaneers, and Pats. And a big old middle finger to you, Rams, because you put your name in the spreadsheet and then didn't actually put anyone there. So, either guilt yourself into coming back or, we're just going to have to mock you. And speaking of guilting people into coming back, shameless plug I have to make before we jump into this. One of the original leagues that brought a lot of us together and what made GMs, what made a lot of other leagues. Game of Thrones is looking for 4 potential owners to jump in. It's pretty basic, and we're basically looking for caretaker teams right now. We did the recruiting stuff too late in the cycle, and we're just trying to get going with the season. So if you're interested in picking up another fantasy team for this season at least, or maybe joining long term, let me know. And especially you, Jeremy, as one of the OG commissioners there, we need you back. But all right, shameless plug done. Let's see what some of these aggregates are. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think not your years. Wow. Usually I feel like it's a little more balanced than that, or like there's maybe 5 or 6 at this point, but 10 of us really bringing up the rear.
Ha! You said rear.
That's true. I did.
Everybody wants to tank this year.
Clearly, Shader, Sanders, and those pre-existing teams that are going to take him. It just sounds perfect.
Who wants Quinn?
Look, I'm going to get the 101, and I'm taking Luther Burden, and anyone who tries to beat me to that is going to get stabbed.
Good to know.
Just kind of looking through this, I'm a little surprised by Colts being so strong here in the not your year thing, because I have him up in a fringe playoff as an on the fence team, but apparently everyone else hates what's going on there. Bill, what are you seeing that I'm not seeing?
He has no quarterback. That's the start.
I thought he bought
one. He has Jake Browning.
Oh.
He just sold Bryce Young for basically 3 first-round picks.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And then he used some of those first-round picks to go buy Marvin Harrison. But he still has his pick and I think another one. And a really fun collection of young talent. Sorry, go ahead. I told you to tell me why I'm wrong, Bill. Keep telling me when I'm wrong, and I promise to keep interrupting you.
That
Well,
sounds great.
I think you just said why you're wrong, because he has a group of young players. I mean, I think he has maybe one starter of those young. Like the rest of them are hopefuls in terms of like Brendan Rice and Javon Baker's probably wide receiver 3 in New England, where the wide receiver core isn't that great. I mean, he's got maybe a starting running back in Jerome Ford for the first few games, but like I just don't see how he's going to put up enough points to be able to win games. I'm not saying our division is that tough, but I think he's so clearly the 4th place team in that division that it's going to be hard for him to win games enough to get into the playoffs.
So Jags is saying he's trying to build for the future. He's not exactly making the trades to do it, but that has been said. And I hate to say it, you and Texans are both glass cannons.
Sure, but I mean, even if you look at Jacksonville's team, he's got Mahomes, Jacobs, Kyron. Like those 3 players are going to outscore all of Colts' offense, and he's still got a ton more players to be able to score more points every week. And even if we are glass cannons, I still think we're going to outscore him with ease, regardless of an injury here or an injury there.
So he's not going to do it, but considering the amount of picks he has, I wonder if Dolphins has gone to Jags and just said, here's 12 first and second round picks. I'm just going to take all of these players and, break them down or move them around for things that I want. But because of the gaggle of picks he has, just say, I'm just going to buy a bunch of shit that I can go sell. But, because I'm picking it up, I can get it on the market and actually move it around again versus just kind of sitting on a team and just kind of make the guy an offer to just kind of buy him out of, some of these assets.
I don't think Dolphins is doing anything this year. He's just going to hang out, I think.
I mean, he does have just a embarrassment of cap space now because he doesn't have that very expensive quarterback on his roster. Or did he already fill that? I don't know. I'm going to check that team. Yeah, $58 million, $58.7 million right now that he's got open. And he's going to have to fill that by what week? Is it week 1 that you got the first check or week 5?
Oh, for cap floor?
Yeah.
I thought it was 5 and 9.
That's what I thought too, but I seem to remember at one point there being a 1. I don't know. I should probably read the bylaws.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Jeremy would say.
Yeah, true.
Don't we have a commissioner to tell us the answer to that?
He's driving. I don't want him looking at his phone as the bylaws are trying to show me he's in a car again.
He might have gotten his phone when he showered.
Yes, from the great shower car. Let's see kind of who else is in this tier. And the funny part is, Colts in this tier doesn't have a quarterback, and he just traded his quarterback to the Chargers. So it's hey, we're buying young things, and we're still not good enough to get into the on the fence.
Right.
But again, I guess Pats doesn't have a quarterback right now. That's the maddening thing at the moment. Like, I feel like he's still posturing as if he is going to try and compete in that division this year, but he has his pick back. So I know it's just a matter of time until, like, all of a sudden everything's gone.
Yeah, basically.
Or he's going to try and sell his team his pick one more time as kind of a top 5er, and then that's going to be that.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, it's definitely a top 5 pick if he doesn't add anything. The problem is if he adds anything with that top 5 pick, it is no longer a top 5 pick.
Right. But I don't know. I feel like it's one of those, cool things to collect at this point. Like, hey, man, I got to get a Pats future first because that's the cool thing and it's going to be worth something. Or a Bears future second. Oops, I have one of those.
Right.
Never mind. Moving on. Let's see who else is popular down here. Rams. Maybe you wouldn't be in a
Mike.
night here.
Mike,
that?
depending on how this pod goes, I may be hollering at you after the show.
I just sorted it, and I'm looking here. So you are you're in that potential team, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 teams. So you could be argued as a top 10 team as part of that third tier, or that's technically knocking you out of it. I don't know.
I'm steaming as we speak.
Oh man, this could be again a very powerful ranking here. If it takes a team who's moved in to potentially move some things around and reposition, especially in a division where we just talked about there's another glass cannon there and teams that are not trying to win, so could easily make some things. Let's see. And Cardinals down there, Rams down there, Niners. No, Niners is not down there. Niners is on the fence, but I was going to say everyone but Seahawks down there. Good times. And then, of course, Bears, which, I enjoy what Bears is doing. Bears is being active. Bears is making moves. Bears is circulating assets, so he's keeping it fresh. That's the thing. It's okay to be bad as long as you're trying.
Okay.
I agree with that statement.
All right. Any final thoughts on the not your year tier here, or anyone's selections of folks in certain areas of the bottom tier?
No, I mean, as always, everything is flexible based off of who makes final moves or gets bored of tanking. But this all seems accurate.
What's fun for me is there's 10 teams here, but then if I'm looking here, like I put 7 teams in there, and most, I'd say, have 9 or less. So it goes back to the whole, if the majority of teams who ranked have less than 9 in this tier, how did 10 teams get down here?
Right.
Whoever set up the spreadsheet is doing some crazy ass math in the background.
Well, no, I think Ravens screwed it all up by adding a ton of players or a ton of teams that don't belong in that category.
Could be. All right, so who is next here? We've got the everything's been small for me. On the fence tier. 3 teams, Raiders, Jags, and Niners. Wow. How did Raiders end up in this group?
Because he's the third best in his division.
Yeah, but I mean, he didn't. Wow.
It's tough.
He was in the running against the. Did he make the playoffs last year, or was he just knocked out?
He was the 8th seed.
Oh shit! So I feel like he was neck and neck there right at the end.
He was. It was like, I don't remember who the 7th seed was, but I feel like it came down to him and one of the guys in the North. Like, I think, oh yeah, that's right. It was him and Ravens, because we were all talking about how Ravens was the team we didn't want in because they were all scared of him.
Mm-hmm.
And he got in at the last week by points, I think.
How has he not traded Lamar Jackson yet?
That's the quarterback.
He's got Brissett too.
Oh, that's another great question.
I'm pretty sure I saw 60 days. Oh, it's 71 days. That's why he hasn't traded Lamar Jackson.
Taking his summer off.
Man. I mean, you trade him now. He's coming off of MVP season. He scored like mad. Like this is you should have traded him already, but like we're getting to the point where it's kind of clear Brissett's going to be the starter in New England. Like, nobody's done well enough to, jump up and grab it from the rookie ranks. So it's like, all right, if we're going to suck, we might as well suck with somebody that, isn't going to hurt us long term by having him out there. Like, you don't want to ruin May, and Milton's never going to be anything but a gadget, but, maybe something happens. Who knows? But come on. Flip him, get some pieces here, and make the West fun again.
I hope by November it is May starting, because I'm going to see the Patriots and Titans in Nashville, and I really want to see May. Not because I think May is that great, because as a Patriots fan, I don't. But I do want to see what we have in him, so we might as well start him a few times.
Oh, yeah. No, I think he's absolutely kind of an after-the-bye starter. Like, you throw someone else to the Wolves, you give him a chance to see some, game speed stuff, get used to the cycle, get a few more reps in practice, and then once it's clear that this isn't going to be our year, then get you in there with lower expectations. Like, that's the way I feel like they're going to move May along. I don't know.
This isn't our year.
What do you think?
I'd prefer to see Brissett start all year. I think May needs to take a redshirt year.
I would find it very interesting if both May and McCarthy ended up redshirting this year. We haven't seen teams do that with highly drafted quarterbacks in a few years, but I think it would benefit them both.
Yeah, I think it's very valuable for these young QBs to not even be asked to do anything, really.
It's going to be a trendy thing because Jordan Love was so successful. So I can see it happened like when Rodgers was successful after Favre left. There were teams that were just like, all right, we'll redshirt our first round draft pick.
I mean, Mahomes redshirted a year, essentially.
Yep. Well, it's not just that. Teams that have had very good teams and been able to support quarterbacks to where they're asked to do far less. Like, if you go back and actually watch Dak's rookie year when he got forced to play, their ability to run the ball and be very successful running the ball made Dak throw the ball in very few high-pressure situations his entire rookie year. And I feel like we've seen that, too, with Jalen Hurts when he took over, and we've seen it with a couple other quarterbacks since. But if your team is as bad as the Pats, there's no reason to put him out there.
Yep.
Who was that? Was that Panthers?
Yep. Ramondre's good, but he's not the type of running back that you could on like that.
Well, do you even trust the line enough? Like, it's definitely not a bad line, but it feels like it's like kind of aging and a little gone. Like, it's not bad, but it's not upper tier anymore.
I think the line's a lot better than last year. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely rather not subject May to a ton of beatdowns, which is why I kind of agree with both analysis. Start him after the bye or redshirt him the entire season.
Well, especially if you're doing homegrown receivers. Like, if Baker and Polk are the real deal, that's who they plan on going with. They're rookies. They're going to go out there and they're going to hear a call and they're going to run the wrong route. It's going to happen. It's going to happen more than once. And that's another opportunity for May to get hit or May to throw a ball and it looks bad. And then it causes confidence issues because he doesn't trust the players, this, that, and the other. It's just everything is better in that team for him not to play. The only players really losing out would be like the defensive players. There's a lot of elite defensive players and the back end of their prime there that really it's going to suck for them to just burn a year when they don't really have a lot of years to burn. I
think that's partially why we haven't re-signed or, Judon's having that contract is for that exact reason, is because they don't want to add the older players to the defense when they're pretty well aware that they're not going anywhere this year.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? They're kind of doing the right thing of kicking all the tires and figuring out what makes the most sense here. Wasn't surprised to see them in the IU sweepstakes, but that's one of those things that there's only so many number one receivers in the league, and only so many different ways to get one. And sometimes you take the Browns approach to getting the franchise quarterback and trade for him, and it works out. And sometimes he likes to bang masseuses. So, it's a risk you take. All right, back to the important stuff for fantasy rankings here. So Raiders down there, Jags we talked about, either if he's going to sell, actually needs to sell. And then 49ers, I mean, this is like the drunk girl at the bar at 1:30 in the morning. It's like, can somebody call her a cab, please? Like, can we just get her out of here?
Who was that?
49ers. Like, it's clear. It's clearly time to rebuild. It's clearly time to go, but he's pieced together just enough, and the West is just bad enough that he's going to stick around. It's like, can we just rebuild, please? Like, it's going to be better for everybody.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because, I feel like Seahawks, really changed his team outlook in the last, year, where Niners, could have been that next, division champ, and he's kind of been a little stagnant, and Seahawks is not. And I think that's where you get to where you are now, where, you're not going to win the division. You're probably not going to make the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, I agree, Mike. He doesn't have his first this year, though, right? So, there's not, he doesn't have an incentive to tear it all down unless he can get his pick back. He has pieces where he could probably incentivize some folks. But I also just, my sense from dealings with that owner in the past is, he wants to kind of play to win and, but doesn't, over-engineer.
Yep. Well, he's taking a lot of shots, and it's tough to give up on those. But the other fun fact here is the team that Hess is first right now is the Rams, who has committed recently, I think, to the rebuild. So, but who has his pick?
Probably Dolphins.
Rams has his own pick.
Rams has his own pick. Yeah.
Yeah, Dolphins is pretty aggressively moved out of the 25 firsts. He still has some choice morsels in Saints, Raiders, and Packers, but and his own. But nonetheless,
Dude, Packers might get booted for inactivity.
Yeah, I keep hearing that too.
Please don't give the commissioner of a league this complicated the option of booting himself.
That's already happened once.
And somehow
that is not what happened there, but I think we all know that. Nonetheless, we've talked about starting a copy or a sister league to this for 2 straight off seasons. 4 of us that we were going to do this together, and still somehow it hasn't happened. So,
hey, I got 2 kids under 3. All right, give me a couple more years, and I can duke it on. But
let's not joke about we should drive off the commission of this league. Let's definitely not do that, please.
I think Jeremy knows that I love him.
But my takeover is almost complete.
Chris, I think he'd hand the reins over to someone else.
Like this. This is absolutely so not you. I think even the leagues you do commission, you're like, I don't like this. I hate this. Why am I doing this?
Mike, you want to know?
It's more the climb to the top than actually being there. That's the fun.
Cool, I made it. I'm out of here.
No.
It's like, oh, great, I'm president. I quit. Sir, you're president. Yeah, I don't want to do the job. I just wanted to have the job for a second. I don't actually want to do any of this stuff. What's up, James?
The 49ers has more guys not on an NFL roster than you have.
He's had a couple of guys who have been should have been cut 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Like
That's what I mean. Like, just dude, just break it down, get your pick back, like, just zip where people are zagging right now. Like, don't load up on first rounders. Just go try and dominate the second. Like,
yeah, the problem is like what like if Rams has it, like,
it's tough to make that move. It would have to be something like Hutch
cut out
that changes hands to
second.
do it, and that would be painful. But that's probably what it's going to take to get his first back. And if he gets his first back, he can then sell the other pieces to contenders and build up what he needs to build up. Or again, he can go full YOLO and say, "Hey, my pick is what it is. I got what I got for it. It's sunk cost. Let me go make the best and get the most out of what I have on this team right now."
I mean, looking at his team is like he has pieces like kind of everywhere. Like I think you just ride it out this year, and then you don't sell cheap, and maybe you sneak into the wild card.
That's dreaming. This team's bad.
I said maybe.
Nah, not even. No, this team's bad. Like, out of Nico, there's not a receiver there that's going to start. Like, at the running back room, it sounds like Miller is completely lost all favor in New Orleans. Dennis Allen was quoted saying, "Yeah, he's great, but he can't get out of the training room." So, it's they got all kinds of problems on this roster. There's very little value at all on it, in my opinion.
Well, all right.
I think like Nico, Hutch, Queen, you're getting at least a first, if not more. Nico,
Yeah, but that's
at
about
least
it.
2 firsts, if not 3. Like just with his cost control contract, the rest of his career. But Kirk, I mean, Kirk will end up fetching something. I don't know. I don't think it's worth if you don't have your pick, like unless you can get it for market value. I wouldn't go overspending for it just to like start the reset a year early.
Well, that's the other thing. Like, he traded his first. If it's going to cost him like Hutch to get it back, or he can get 2.5 first for Hutch, like then sell these pieces and rebuild. Like, okay, I'm not going to get it back, and I'd like to make it worse if I could, but at some point, if that's counterproductive to what he's trying to do with his team, then at some point you have to write it off as a sunk cost and just go the direction you need to go.
Yeah, I mean he's going to go 4-2 in his division, right? Like he's got 4 free wins.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. He's not going to make the playoffs, so he's not going to get any money back from this. He'll be good enough to be outside the top 10, but then his pieces have a chance of going the way of Kendre Miller. Like, he could have traded Kendre Miller 2 months ago and probably gotten a first for him. And now, he'd be lucky to get a third. Like, waiting on some of these pieces, like, what if Nico Collins ends up being the odd man out in Houston this year? He had a great year last year, especially when Dell was out. Now Diggs is there too. Schultz showed capable enough. Mixon's been, just fine out of the backfield. Collins could fall to 100 or fewer targets. If that happens, what happens to his value? But right now, he's a top 10 dynasty receiver. I don't think he is, but if you look at the rankings, yes, before everyone jumps down my throat, that's what I'm saying.
Well, it's not just that. He's got other people like Rondell Moore and Sam Hubbard. He could have got some kind of value for those guys. Like, maybe not much, but something. But now they're both gone for the year. Like, Sam, you'll still get something because he's on a contract, but Rondell, you'd have to 5th-year him. No one's giving you anything for him. He is dead. You might as well cut him.
He also, he got carted off today in an air cast, so...
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's no value there anymore. He's done. No one's giving a 5th-year option to a player who's about to miss his entire 4th year and hasn't been worth it.
Yeah. And there was a point, too, where Donovan Peoples-Jones, 2 years ago, seemed like, we had 800 yards, 60 catches. That was probably... I mean, he got extended on that contract, too. Peak value to try and cash in. And he lost his job.
like that's the thing with like Kirk Cousins, for example, right now. Right now, that's his job. Penix has looked good in camp, but there are no rumblings that he is starting over Kirk Cousins. So, if he decided to make some moves here, he could move Cousins to someone who's in more of a contending position and still get the value that he put into him. Like it was Darnold, and I think his a future, like a late first or something is what he paid for Cousins. He could get like a mid to late first next year for Cousins right now, I would think.
Yeah, but if you want to talk about just blunders in the Niners, he totally didn't trade for Purdy and then used the wrong tag on him.
Well,
Yeah.
I didn't do this to just jump and dump on one team, but more the sometimes when we see a situation that we love to do something with and just can't, it's frustrating to us. But nonetheless, into the potential playoff teams, he's left, but I feel we're obliged to talk about the Titans because he's moved a lot of chips into the middle this year to make a run at it, and we have him as a potential playoff team and not even a fringe contender. For those who kind of had him on either on the fence or potential playoff team, what were the thoughts there?
This is Titans.
Yes.
I mean, he bought it.
He's got McCaffrey. He's got a lot of high-scoring pieces.
Yeah, I had him as I chose him over Texans, I think, to win the division in my rankings. I think he's a bit deeper. Obviously, like McCaffrey was, like pretty much single-handedly dragged Bill's team to the Super Bowl. So like, if there's a repeat of that, if he stays healthy, like I expect he will be RB1, RB2, and honestly just win weeks on his own.
Yeah, I think all of us have Titans as cemented as a playoff team. So the only person that has them on the fence is Ravens.
Yep.
My audio cut out. I was saying the matchup with Texans is going to be really important. And like depending on bye weeks and stuff, like that could be really pivotal. But I just like his team a bit better due to the depth.
Vision.
I mean, that's a problem. There's going to be all four AFC North teams, at least two teams in the South, at least two teams in the West, probably three. And Jets look good in the East. Who knows what the Bills and Pats are going to do?
I think regardless of what the Bills or Pats could do, I don't think it would be enough to like exceed the Titans or Texans rosters.
Well, see, the thing is I'm pretty sure if I looked at it, the AFC East has a pretty good, easy schedule outside. And I think the Bills and Jets, with their automatic 4 wins against the Dolphins and Pats, are probably going to edge out one of the AFC teams that we think should be in it at the end of the day. I think they're just going to have an easier schedule, and they're going to end up winning 1 or 2 games, and they're going to end up making it in over some better teams.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I'm assuming it. I don't know. I think.
I had it written down, but I don't have my notes in front of me.
Yeah, I don't have the schedule. If only that was readily available for us on the website here.
We can figure it out.
I think the big battle is really just going to be the AFC North and the Ravens and Steelers.
Yeah.
Because I feel at the end of the day, one of those two teams, because of how tough their schedule is and having to play everybody in that division, I believe one of those teams are going to be looking at the Bills and Jets going, you got to be kidding me. How are they in?
So were you guys picky and only let 14 teams in between your contenders and playoff teams, or did you expand it?
Nope. 14 at
14.
most.
Oh, 7-7.
I was not that good.
I only had 11, and then on the fence is filling out the remaining spots for me.
I'd originally had 12 between the top two tiers, 6 in each, and then you could argue fringe teams. But I did move it to 7 and 7 because they're just teams that are obviously better. So in mine, Ravens got the nod over Texans and Bills because Ravens is just a better team. So even though they're probably going to finish third in their division, probably more than likely going to take a wild card spot. And I did the same with Falcons. At one point, I kind of thought Falcons was closer to a contender, but when you take into consideration that whole team's ancient and will probably sustain some type of age-related injuries, it's a fringe team.
Only his defense is ancient.
Yeah. And
So-
also he has no defensive ends.
And no tight ends. And one true starting corner, which I know it's just corner, but still.
Yeah.
Bro, get off the corner soapbox.
Hey, man, the dude hasn't done that.
You
The
can't
last
make that
move-
happen.
Well, what's the last time he made a move? He made a trade for Josh Jacobs for Christian Watson over a year ago. And since then, he signed,
Zay
a couple
Flowers
free
in the
agents and drafted?
offseason.
Okay, so he's made 2 trades in 2 years and 3 free agent signings. We're all so afraid of him.
Well, he definitely gets a shit ton of shit offers that he declines because I hear about them. So
Thank you. I try.
let's see. Is any of the 2 major culprits on here? No. Chiefs doesn't listen. It's Chiefs and Bucks. They send a lot of garbage. Surprise?
What do
Nope.
you mean? Now, Goose has actually been sending me some good offers, but Bucks being interdivision, 99% of the stuff he sends me is so bad, I honestly just want to leave it there.
Yeah, Goose has consistently sprinkled in some spicier trades than what I'm used to. It's usually 1 out of every 10 makes me pause, but now it's 1 out of every 3 makes me go, oh man, Goose is onto something.
I've had 26 offers from Goose for Colby Parkinson this offseason.
That's hilarious.
That's a lot.
That's almost as many offers as I have made for Zeke.
Man. So a team I don't know how did he get in here? I've got to highlight him on this. Yeah, how do these numbers work?
Oh, he has more more good running backs than any other team.
Really?
He has 4 that are gonna put up numbers.
No, I think people are sleeping on the Bills, to be honest. I don't like his team. I don't like this, that, and the other. But he's in the AFC East. It's easy. And I think he's going to just win some games because he's got good players.
Yep. He's
He's
paper thin,
12 offensive players. 12.
but they all have jobs and they're all pretty decent at their jobs, other than Eric Gray.
Not Nelson Aguilar.
He's fine. He put up almost 100 points last year.
You see, when you have Crosby and Watt dropping you 40 at edge, and then you have Quay and Singleton, he's got enough guys scoring enough points. He's going to win more games than people want him to. Plus, he's got 4 freebies coming to him. 4 freebies. When you start and you already know you have 4 wins, you got to win 5 more to potentially be a playoff team. And that's a team that can definitely win 5 more.
So much of this team reminds me of that scene in Caddyshack where they're in Chevy Chase's house and she's just kind of checking papers on the table and says, "This is a cashier's check for $50,000 just laying here unsigned." Oh yeah, I guess do something with that. That's what this team feels like. It's all right, I have these guys and they're pretty good, and okay, I'm going to pay attention over here. And like you said, he's going to get 7 or 8 wins and be interesting enough that we're going to talk about him more. Where just if you just turn some things over, like, it's frustrated.
I don't even really know what he can turn over at this point, though.
He could downgrade stuff. Like I said, he could turn any of those running backs into wide receiver, tight end depth. He could turn TJ or Max Crosby into a reasonable defensive end, a corner, and probably even grab something else in there. Like, he has ways of breaking down like one or two pieces and really fleshing out a team. It's just a matter of if he's going to make the effort to do it.
I just don't think he's going to see value in what he gets offered for those guys.
Yep. Unfortunately, that happens a lot in this league. But what can you do?
Well, that's the thing. Trading in this league, you have to be diligent enough to find the right team. And there is at least one team that will give you the value you're looking for your player. You just have to sometimes wait on that. Maybe it's not one of the more active owners. It's Jags, or it's Bills, or it's it's Packers. It's one of those teams that doesn't trade as much or doesn't make as many moves in the year. When they do it, they're very deliberate with it. So, that's the challenge in our league. Let's see. Then again, just the idea that Bills and Panthers are in the same tier for me just kind of drives me a little nuts. It just doesn't make sense. Like,
hold on, let me pull up Panthers. We'll critique him in a negative way.
I think James has put together a roster that can hold its own, if not exceed the Buccaneers. And the Buccaneers are like a no shit contender for everybody else here. So I just can't put them 2 tiers below that team. I just can't.
Hey, Giants wants back to him.
Yes,
I don't care what Giants wants.
I mean, I think that's maybe if we're still looking at Bucks, like they've gone, like he's kind of regressed from being a championship team. Sure, then I can understand like putting Panthers on the same tier, but
And it doesn't have to be the same tier, but I don't think there are 2 tiers. We have 5 tiers. I don't think those teams are 2 tiers apart.
yeah. I mean, you're not getting any disagreement from me. He's the second best playoff team in my eyes. Like, he is the 6th best team in the league.
I think so. I put him on the fence only because like I put position, but like any like if 2 teams are battling it out for the playoff spot, I put them on the same like on the fence tier. So like him and Falcons, for the example there. Like I'm not sure who will end up coming up ahead.
Help me with that. 2 teams are battling for a playoff position.
Yeah,
and it's that's that. But then
I don't think 3 teams from that division make it necessarily.
No, sorry. I was gonna counter your point, but I was looking at Broncos playoff teams rather than yours. I was gonna say, wait, 2 is too many, but 4 is okay because Broncos has all 4 AFC North teams going to the playoffs. So it does look like your logic is a little bit more consistent on that. Although you do have 3 AFC North teams in contenders and playoff teams, so it is a little bit that way.
And that's more of a reflection on the NFC or the AFC versus the NFC.
I think both conferences are very much the same. We have like 5 really good teams in each conference, and then there's like 3 to 4 fringe teams that are battling it out for the last 2 playoff spots.
Yeah, that's why I have so many teams in my contender rankings. To me, I really see.
Did he drop out or?
It
Yes.
seems so.
Okay.
This is the beauty of it.
Yeah, so I think similar to what James was saying, but not where he was going directly. Like I think the leagues are analogous. I'm using big words, and it's way too late at night for that. But like again, the AFC North and the NFC South are equivalent, I would say. Not necessarily the same, but in terms of the quality of teams and everything like that, I would say those are equivalent divisions. I would say the AFC East and the NFC West are equivalents. I would say, we probably better line up with the in terms of the NFC North with the AFC South right now, because that's a little bit more muddled on top. And I wouldn't say we necessarily have a clear contender coming from the NFC North yet. And I'd say that's probably accurate for the AFC South. And then kind of that flop, the NFC East and the haven't I done yet? The AFC West, I feel like, are equivalents. You've got three teams really leading the way at the top. The fourth team's got some interesting pieces and still needs to make some moves. But point being, kind of that top 8 to 9 is there in both conferences.
All right, Eagles. Nose goes for which of us is Chiefs?
I'll take it, I guess.
That means you have to be Bill.
Haha.
I feel too decisive to be Bill.
Wow.
Said with love.
That doesn't sound like it.
There's nothing but love in this league. If you suggest otherwise, you're a hater.
Well, that's the biggest load of shit I've ever heard.
It's honestly the
Somebody bump Colts down another tier.
Listen, nobody ever blocks anybody else on Discord. That doesn't happen.
It's the first thing I have to explain to my au pair every time we have a new one. It's kind of like, just so you know, the way that me and my friends and kind of guys talk to each other here is, if we're not insulting each other, we actually don't like each other. And she kind of looks at me like I have 3 heads every time. Like, what? Like, no, that's just how we talk, and that's kind of what you're going to hear. And it's not that I hate every other guy that walks in here. That's just how I communicate with my friends.
Well,
and
you kind of hate him, but
I don't want to confuse you as you listen in with a little bit of English you understand, saying, did he just call him a motherfucker, or did he just say he's the worst human being on earth or a piece of garbage? Like, I'm trying to follow what they're saying, but it's not making any sense. Like, no, that's what we're saying to each other. And I don't want it to be, shocking to you.
Listen, I didn't hear a single thing you just said that was untrue about this league.
Exactly. If you're not giving each other a hard time in this league, then you're not participating.
Yeah, you're not having fun.
Exactly. It's, we call each other on shit, and, this would be a league-wide catastrophe in 90% of the other leagues I'm in. Here, it's a Tuesday.
Yeah. I think it's probably because of the amount of people that can absorb the shit. If you got your 10-man league and you're constantly giving shit to 2 or 3 of those members, I feel like it just falls apart really quick. But if there's a group of 15 guys you can spread that garbage around to, everybody gets along eventually.
Like, let's just put this in perspective. And again, I say this with nothing but love, clearly, but the person who just started lobbing insults at teams was the Giants. And I feel like the Giants gets the most shit of any team right now in terms of trade offers.
For sure.
It's, again, if we dish it out, but we can also take it. And that's what makes a league great, is, the ability to both give the shit and then take shit back, and not, go home and cry to mommy that this is a problem.
I will say, I think there's probably a few teams that doesn't generally give shit and they don't take it very well, but I think that's fair. If you're not involved in the shit talking, then not being a very receptive league member to it is reasonable.
And I do appreciate, like, the 10 teams that aren't as active, but appreciate that there's a group of 10 to 14 degenerates here, and we're going to send 150 trade offers a year, and that's how we want to play in this league, and we are all completely out of our minds, and that's okay, and it could be a fun way to play in the league. And sending 12 trade offers in the league in a year is a fun way to play in the league, but not saying, okay, this guy's a pain in the ass to play with because he does this, makes it work.
Yeah, I was initially invited to this league. I don't know, a over a year ago when the Chargers had an opening. And I was not quick enough on the upkeep. I think the Packers filled that spot before I responded. And I was upset. I was not very happy because I'd been actively trying to get into this league. And then the Colts opening came up and I jumped on that sucker. And man, I have never regretted it. This
All right,
is
that was
such
his
a
first
fun
mistake.
league.
Make him regret it, guys. Come on.
You can't. It's not possible.
Oh, I doubt
Come
that.
on. Come on. Let me figure this out.
I don't know anybody that hasn't taken over a team that at some point within like the first, let's call it 2 years, doesn't go, I think I completely fucked this up. And then has to like reassess how they build teams and just, all right, we're going to do it the GM's league way. 'Cause, yeah, like every new person, like at a certain point, just comes to the realization of like, oh, I made way too many bad trades. I can't get myself out of that. And like, you will dig yourself out of it, but it's kind of just one of the casualties of, taking on this league.
There's a lot of things that I regret having done, moves I've made when I first joined. But at the end of the day, I think I came out fine. I mean, I won my division last year after having traded away Chris Olave, Nick Bosa, Kyle Pitts. I mean, it's just been all over the place. I've had like a dozen top five players, but probably top 8 prospects that have switched in and out of my team and haven't stayed. And like I had Justin Herbert at one point. God, it's like a trip down memory lane. I had Justin Herbert at one point, Kyle Pitts. I mean, it's how you learn how to play it.
Somebody call a doctor because I think Rory is dislocated his shoulder, patting himself on the back right now.
Yeah.
I'm greatly concerned for your safety and would like you to make sure, seek some medical attention. Your arm isn't supposed to move that direction. So I need you to make sure that you're going to be okay here. So
hey, doctor. We'll all be talking about how I somehow won the division in 8 months. Don't even worry about it.
Again, I put nothing past it because of what happened last year. It's
who needs a quarterback?
Maybe this must have been on Twitter or something like that. It's my daughter was watching iCarly, and it was the theme of the report was those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it, and then back and forth with the class. It was the corniest thing ever, but it's now stuck in my head, and it's all your fault, Colts. But welcome, Browns, to the part of the podcast that you are actually going to be discussed in, because we are starting to get to the second tier, the fringe contenders. Broncos, Browns, Packers, Seahawks, Eagles, Chiefs, Jets here. I don't think any of these teams don't belong, but again, I definitely see 2 of these teams probably falling out by the time we get to the playoffs this year. I think, it's not a hot take, but 2 of these teams that are listed in the French contenders won't make the playoffs.
Do you think the Chiefs is a fringe contender?
Yes.
Yeah. It's Goose. He has 30 guys on his team who will score 150 points.
Sure.
So it really like the AFC West and the AFC North are basically just going to beat the hell out of each other all year. Like that's how this is going to fall. So he's, of course, their fringe contender because he has just as good a chance of taking one of the wild cards or top 4 spots as anybody else in those divisions. And that's just kind of the problem.
I mean, I get where you're coming from, and I don't disagree, but I think the Broncos is so far ahead of him.
Goddamn right I am. You goddamn right.
I mean, I don't like to say it. I don't like to say it because the Broncos can be an asshole, but listen.
Can be?
He's
Aww.
Derek Carr, who is, I don't think anyone can argue he's a top 10 quarterback anymore. Even at the price, he's borderline top 15.
What?
Derek Carr's a top 15 quarterback? What are you talking about?
I said borderline top 15.
Borderline top 32, maybe.
Hold on. Pause.
I think that's unfair to Derek.
We need to take a break for some perspective here. Oh shoot! Did he fall? He left the podcast already. God damn it, Chris! This is the perfect time for everyone to be reminded that Chris won a championship in this league with
Without a
Mitch
quarterback.
Trubisky as his quarterback.
Yeah.
Sure, I'm not saying you can't. The problem is you have to have a stacked offense to do that. He has one starting running back. Total.
Huh? What?
What?
He has 2 starting running backs and one that's a. Are we talking about Chiefs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Singletary's a
starting running-
starter in New York.
Ted Chandler is going to see a good solid rotation. Ramondre is a starter in New England, and Warren is basically slotted for a 50-50 role in Pittsburgh. He's got the same running back depth that Bills has.
Yeah, but the problem is, I don't think any one of those guys is going to score more than 150 points this year.
I would do a board bet with somebody. I think the 4 running backs on Chiefs right now outscore the running back room for the Bills right now.
Well,
is it current
I'm not gonna
current
bet against
Bills?
that.
Current Bills versus current Chiefs.
I'll
Current
take that.
Chiefs will outscore the current Bills.
I don't disagree with you. I think the Bills running back sucks ass too.
No,
I
I'll
would
take
bet
that,
five.
Mike.
Okay, I'll do that for. Do you want to do
I mean-
$5 on the board?
The total
down.
points looking at it is impressive, right? You have 106, 170, 135, and 180 point running back, and Roger Stevens had a down year because he was injured. But you have Devin Singletary on a new offense with a quarterback that can't throw the ball well at all. I mean, he's never going to support more than one total pass catching.
So you're telling me he's going to run for 1,600 yards?
No, I'm telling you that if Saquon Barkley had one iota less talent, he'd run for 700 yards on 250 carries. But Barkley's one of the most talented running backs in the NFL, so he made it work. I don't think Devin Singletary is. So he's going to have a down year at $14 million, which, I mean, it's not terrible price for a running back. Jalen Warren, solid. I like Warren, but Najee's going to be involved at the end of the day. So you got to ask yourself, is Russell going to throw to him, basically? But then who does he have as a receiver? He doesn't have a
Russell's
single
not gonna
wide
throw
receiver
him
one.
because Russell's already injured.
Well, that remains to be seen. I know Tomlin really likes Russell Wilson. So I'm not going to count him out as a starting running back until I actually see Justin Fields trot out with one.
He's got 6 wide receiver 2s or 3s.
He doesn't have a single wide receiver one. And
That's
Gabe
fine.
Davis is borderline as his wide receiver 2. Because you have Christian Kirk, and you have Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah, but he has 8 of them. Like that.
But-
That's the thing. Like it's one of them is like 1 or 2 of them is going to put up double digits almost every single week. Like,
I mean, I
his
don't believe
team-
that.
There's a reason that I'm vocal about this.
Yeah.
Because I used to be in a division with Goose, and there's a reason that Bill feels this way but isn't vocal about it because he's confident SOB, but B, it scares the shit out of him because he is frustrated as hell to play against because he has a team like this, but somehow every single fucking week he puts up at least 220.
Mhm.
Right. He's
All
very
right, so-
irritating to watch go through a
At
season.
least 220.
So
And if
let's just take
anyone pops, and if anyone pops, like if Gabe Davis has his 3 for 120 and 2 touchdowns game that he had 2 or 3 times in Buffalo, he puts up over 300. Like,
problem
it
is he's not wide receiver 2 for arguably the best quarterback in the NFL anymore. He's
you're
wide receiver
missing-
3 for
No, but go on. Let's
You're
keep
missing
going
the
through.
point, but
Wait,
that's fine. I have tried
Well,
to
I'm
make
just
my point, and it's not
without Gabe Davis being that option, without a guy like Greg Dortch being the number 2 in Arizona anymore, the odds of those kind of scorers showing up week to week is a lot lower, in my opinion.
You'll see in the season.
I mean, maybe. I'm not saying
So-
otherwise, but I look
so
at his
do-
defense or his offense. Do you see a single wide receiver over wide receiver 3 for their respective team?
No, but
Yeah.
I don't care. Like some of them are wide receiver 2s, but it doesn't matter.
Mooney.
Like,
Who's
it's-
a wide receiver 2?
No, Mooney got hurt today.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think having a wide receiver.
Before that, he was wide receiver 2 because he's
Okay,
getting the majority of
arguably,
the targets
sure.
in from Cousins. Cousins
Over Pitts, though? Probably not.
Pitts is a tight end. You said who's wide receiver 2. I just told
Yeah.
you before he
But
got
he's
hurt
not
today.
a
he was
wide
wide
receiver.
2.
Okay, sure. So that means Jamison Williams, wide receiver 2 in Detroit?
That's the plan.
But would you consider him a wide receiver 2?
Are you talking about a fantasy wide receiver 2?
Yeah, I'm talking about fantasy.
No,
No.
every single one of Goose's
wasn't-
wide receivers are wide receiver 3s, but it doesn't matter because his wide receiver 3s are going to pop just like your wide receiver 1s because he has so many of them. Like, sure, eventually, like there are going to be some weeks where he's starting guys that have 6 points, but the vast majority of weeks he's going to be starting guys that have like 11 plus points. And like, okay, sure, your wide receiver 1 may put up 16 and he may put up 13, but like, just the depth that he has, he's fine. He's going to find a wide receiver 1 or a wide receiver 2 every single week.
I mean, I do get where you're coming from, but based on the players and where they're at today, I just don't really see it.
That's true, but also having 8 wide receivers out of a 40-man roster takes depth away from other positions, right? So,
Because I look at that,
where is he lacking depth? Like,
right,
he doesn't,
like, he's
he
not.
doesn't have a consistent tight end.
what?
He's got
He
Schultz.
has the best tight ends in our whole league.
We're
Are
moving
you
on.
serious?
We
So you're counting on Drake May. You're counting on Kincaid not
I don't
dominating
give a
the
shit
tight
who's
ends.
throwing to him. It's Dalton Schultz, Dawson Knox, and Hunter Henry. Like they're all probably, given their health, they're all going to put up 150 points.
Knox is
CJ
the only
Stroud and
one
Josh
who's
Allen
Knox-
are starter.
Knox didn't even come close to that.
Knox
was
was
hurt.
hurt.
How much of the season?
Most of it.
Dawson Knox had a stat
He
recorded.
missed
and
5 games out of 16. And he put up 50 points?
Yeah, it happens.
Okay, my bad. Take one of his tight ends out. He still has 2 tight end ones.
Okay,
Board
so
best number 2.
you think
no.
Hunter Henry's a tight end 1?
On his team.
Board bet number 2. Chiefs will finish in the top 10 of tight end scoring this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it mean anything for his end of year production potential? Not necessarily, but that tight end room is legit.
I mean,
Again, I
Henry
put my
had-
board bets up for $5 if people want them, and I got one with RJ for Bills versus.
I mean, I like Schultz.
Chiefs
I
running
don't
back.
dislike him, but Houston added Stephon Diggs.
Oh,
and
I'm sorry.
That can literally only take away from Dalton.
Seahawks might have a better group of tight ends in our league, but still.
He's got the two.
I
He's got the two.
I think Dalton Kincaid alone outscores all 3 of his tight ends.
I'll take that board bet.
Yeah.
You think Kincaid's going to score 300 points?
No, I think that Hunter Henry's going to score about 100, and Schultz is going to score about 100, and Dawson Knox is going to score literally like 30 points.
I think Colts is thinking of this in terms of like a smaller league. But
Yeah.
if you have any,
No, I know. I get where you're coming from with having all the depth, but I don't think any of those tight ends are worth a damn.
if you have
So-
any semblance of a tight end who, even gets 50% of the snaps, that's worth something, right?
Yeah, you're assessing tight ends from the perspective of a 12-team league.
Okay,
So-
AJ Barner's probably going to get greater than 50% snaps in Seattle.
So
Does that mean
ultimately,
he's worth owning in fantasy?
look at it
Does
this
that mean
way.
is he going to score anything?
Look at it this way, though. This is best ball. He doesn't need to start a lineup. He doesn't have to choose any of those guys. They just play.
No, I agree, but that means that he has to have at least one startable tight end every week.
He
And we're
does.
talking about a tight end for the Patriots. With
He
a
needs one of
quarterback.
those tight ends to catch
Might
a
be Joe
touchdown,
Milton.
and his week is happy. It's fine. Yeah, if you have 3 tight ends that are seeing 40 plus snaps in a game, you're happy.
This is a lot of conversation for a team that's going to end up in third place.
Third place in his division or
His
overall?
division. Oh,
In his
fuck no
division.
way. He's not getting further than me.
I mean,
Hey, you might
that's
finish
the thing.
second. Who
That's
knows?
why I put Chiefs as like playoffs teams max. Because at the end of the day, he's not going to beat any of these contenders.
No, he's hunting for a championship with that team. I was very vocal about I thought his team was dog shit in the offseason. But like this is a Goose team that is like, yeah, I think I'm gonna make a run at the title this year.
So where did he finish last year?
He finished 6th.
6th place.
I think he lost the
And-
wild card round.
Did he have any turnover really on his team?
No.
So
Well, did
you
he?
had Devin Singletary going from being the starter in Houston, a good offense, to a bad offense.
Huh? When was he the starter in Houston?
last
The
year.
entire year last year,
He
I
did
don't
start
believe
over
it.
Pierce.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, he split time.
and then you have Dalton Schultz, basically wide receiver 2 in Houston most of the year.
No.
Tank Dell got hurt. What, halfway through
That's
the season?
great.
The
So
entire
Diggs-
playoffs, Tank Dell was hurt. It
Diggs,
was just
Nico,
Nico.
and Dell are all well ahead of him on pecking order.
No, last year. Diggs wasn't
Oh,
there
last year. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He's
So-
trying to say that Schultz is going to regress.
Schultz is going to regress. You have Gabe Davis, who's wide receiver 2 for Josh Allen, is now wide receiver 3 for Trevor Lawrence. Outside of that,
Yeah, but
Greg
Gabe
Dortch
Davis is-
now behind Marvin Harrison and
and
the
keep
tight
going.
end. Fucking I
Michael
can't-
Wilson
Trey,
and
Michael
Zay
Wilson.
Jones.
Trey didn't have too much drinks. Trey,
And there's
tight end.
some sort of tip out there too.
Yeah, sure. Tip Reedman. Okay.
Don't take Panthers.
It's weird that I can remember Tip Reedman's name, but I can't remember Trey, whatever the fuck his name is.
Palmer?
Thank you. No,
McBride.
McBride. Thank you.
The tight end. Okay,
The tight end,
sorry.
yeah.
Zoned out for a second.
So he might have wide receiver 2 or 3 between Ray McLeod and Darnell Mooney. So is Mooney like out, or is he like he's hurt, but he's
I don't know. I just saw it on Twitter. He could have.
Khalif Raymond, Detroit's wide receiver 3, maybe. Trey Tucker, Las Vegas is wide receiver 3 or 4. I mean, his team all around got worse at almost every offensive position.
So he did the same thing last year. Like his defense is still strong.
Oh,
You
his
know,
best DM just blew his Achilles out.
So did
Doesn't
mine.
matter.
Traded him away. Like you act like this is like where we're set.
He has 7 more starting. Or
Yeah, but that was
rotation
his
defensive ends.
200-point
I
DM.
think most of this league outside of Commanders would kill for his defensive end depth.
Yes.
He doesn't have a
So-
single player that's gonna score more than 150.
Who cares?
He doesn't need it. It's when you have
You're
8
thinking about this
guys.
from a season-long situation. This is best ball. This is week to week. All they have to do is pop.
Yeah.
Like what they end with doesn't matter. It's what they do in a given week.
Can we move on?
All
I
right,
don't know.
all right.
We're not even talking about Chiefs. We're just talking about like the idea at this point.
I understand what the idea of best ball is, but it doesn't matter if your guy scores 150 points if every week it's 6-point weeks.
All right, so the Super Bowl is going to be Buccaneers and Bengals. We all agree?
No.
Probably.
Oh,
No.
That's what people have here. Those are the 2 only contenders, and 1 from each conference. So
Hey, I have myself as a contender in my.
and I don't know where you
rankings.
get off thinking I'm the only one that's not putting myself in that room.
I had to stop myself from putting myself in there too. Yeah, it's
oh yeah, me too.
like if anyone like a month before the season starts could flip his team from a tanker to a contender, it's you.
No,
it's
come on,
Pats.
like seriously, like I'm past it. This is like Harry Houdini being inside of like the torture chamber, like drowning, then getting dropped from a helicopter over like a volcano. Like,
Oh yeah.
what are we doing here? Like, no, like there is no way for me to get out from being a
Yeah.
bad team this year.
Nobody can take on Purdy anymore.
Seriously, I have no one to trade him to.
All right, challenge accepted.
No.
Well, that's the thing, is that you could do it, but you have to trade Purdy. There would be no other way not to do it.
You sure you don't want my first pick, Vikings?
I want to see Mike be a playoff team with Purdy.
Yeah. Well, that's next year. That's next year when there's a
Yeah,
roster full of
No. It still has to be this cap hit.
You
Oh.
can't.
Like I need him to go around and literally buy all of the good value. I need him to acquire like Jacoby Myers, Trey Hendrickson, like
Well, don't worry.
Montez
all of
Sweat.
the great.
He's
Yeah,
still
like,
going to have this kind of cap hit next year whenever he's a Pro Bowler.
Which one
I
of
think
those is going to be?
I think
Pro
Chargers
Bowlers? Stop loss.
Chargers could fit Purdy if you took back some salary.
I think he already traded for him.
He's got a quarterback, no?
He's got Bryce.
Yeah, Bryce Young.
oh,
I'd rather have Bryce than Purdy at cost currently, I think.
I don't know. I'm starting to come around on Purdy as a quarterback.
Are you talking about at their contract cost?
I at their contract cost.
Well, no
yes.
shit. You wouldn't.
Yeah.
You want anybody but Purdy.
I don't know. I'd take Purdy over like Aiden O'Connell. I think. Hey, how bad you want to get rid of Brock Purdy's contracts?
Not bad. I don't think Mike sees it as a burden.
Nope.
Well, I know he doesn't, but I think he wants my first round pick.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Now that would want to sell.
That's a top 10 pick, baby. 100%. Don't pay no attention to the rest of the roster. Let's look at my quarterback, top 10 pick.
Can I sell my 2026 first in that same manner? I promise I'll tank next year. Somebody just give me ridiculous value for it this
You
year.
just gotta have
Handshake deal for my
faith
27 first.
that Peyton Wilson, Junior Colson pan out. You gotta think that Isaiah Foskey pans out. Will McDonald.
Are you roster baiting on the pod?
Yes. It's wildly.
These guys are
uncomfortable.
bad, you know. There's no question.
Jesus, we actually we had a good amount of trades since last week.
So we're just immediately done.
Hold on, I want to talk about more of the contenders.
Yeah, I'm still wanting to talk about contenders. Yeah.
All right, you guys keep doing that. Look, I was trying to give teams an option to roster bait earlier, and nobody wanted to. And now
Yeah, I
we're
just
roster
shot
baiting about teams in the fourth tier. We're supposed to be talking about the top tier. Like,
Okay, then I want to ask how is Packers a fringe contender? Someone enlighten me. I know I have them
what's
as a
his running
playoff
backs?
team, but
Oh wait,
I
do you
agree.
want him? Do you think he's too high or too low?
I think he is the last of the NFC playoff teams.
Yeah.
But he realistically, I think he should be closer to that tier 3 potential playoff teams.
I mean, isn't he
I
just gonna win
don't
his
think he
division?
has a lot of weaknesses. Personally.
Age.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, sure, age, but
he has 3 players that could die of old age before the end of the season.
But isn't he just gonna walk into his division?
I mean, he has 2 wide receivers.
Well,
Really.
the problem is you
Lions will give
can't
him some trouble.
count on that stuff.
Hawkinson's
Tyler
gonna
Boyd,
miss half the year.
Hopkins, Cooper Kupp, Aaron Jones. Yes, they're all old, but you can't count on them not being productive.
Aaron Jones is one of the few 29-year-old running backs that I don't really consider old. Maybe it's just because he's getting a lot of hype this offseason.
Well, he's also got that kind of
Hawkinson's
game.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
His D tackles are a
Hawkinson's
little weak,
not
but
gonna
look
start.
at his DNs.
His DNs are insane.
Yeah, his DNs are good. But I don't know. I think my team is at par, if not better than his. And I was a tier and a half down. Giants.
Are you comparing current teams or
All right, the
last?
problem and the reason that I ranked you lower is because the ranking has to be done purely on rookie speculation. Yes, if every one of your rookies pans out and is a phenomenal player, then yeah, you're a championship contender. If not,
Right.
you have no quarterback. You have 2 wide receivers.
I have-
not really doing
I have the
3
Seattle
running
quarterback room.
Yeah, he has Geno. He has one of the best.
But Geno's
pieces at quarterback.
probably going to have some hip issues because he's old as hell. And
Then I have Sam
fucking
Howell,
shit.
who was
Oh, he
productive.
has $1.4 million worth of a starting quarterback.
What
He's-
happened? The problem is, what happens if Seattle decides they want to trade for Penix to Atlanta?
That's
Hey, here's Daryl Taylor and a first round pick. We'll take that.
we can't assess teams and live in football fantasy land at the same time.
I don't like his stability at quarterback, personally. But I mean, otherwise, you can take it. He has 600 points in quarterback.
I mean, I do agree with the assessment on rookies. I hate all of the non-existent points on
Yeah.
offense.
He has 0 points at running back.
So many dashes.
2 wide receivers, I guess, with Dotson.
It's I just look at it from redraft perspective. Corum's not really anything. I don't know if Brooks is going to play in the early part of the season, and by
Probably
the
won't
time
play
he
until,
does,
Yeah, they said week 3 or 4. That's just-
Yeah, but week 3 or 4 may be like 2 weeks of like 100-yard games by Chuba, and they're like, well, maybe we'll just take the slow approach.
If I had to guess, he probably starts in the PEP and doesn't come out the week.
And
I mean-
Marshawn Lloyd's another one. Like, what if AJ Dillon's just like, no, the number 2 job's mine, and just like asserts himself as the number 2 running back? They'll just go, we'll run him into the ground and we won't re-sign him, and like we'll use Lloyd next year. So like mostly running back. The wide receivers, we already know what's going to happen with those two. Neighbors is going to be a stud. Rome probably a stud, most likely not this year.
Well, I agree with all that. I love his receivers, but
Right.
you can't guarantee anything.
Running backs is my only concern with Giants.
Yeah, but like if you for running back, I just need one of these guys to like get a touchdown or have a 100-yard game, right? Like I'm not expecting them to be starting 2 of these guys. I just need one to show up.
I mean, here's
I
the issue
agree.
I run into. Would you consider Caleb Williams, as he stands right now, 350-point quarterback?
I don't know. We haven't seen him.
That's
we
the problem.
We can't
I
make that
can't-
assessment on any rookie.
Exactly. And
Other
so I
than Malik
can't
Neighbors.
personally. That's the problem.
I mean,
I won't do
350
it
is
for-
also too high.
Right.
Well, I mean, if we're going to be counting him, so if you're going to count Caleb Williams as a quarterback 1, top guy drafted, Malik Neighbors is a wide receiver 1, like that's going to be roughly. So he might score 300 as a wide receiver 1, if that's like your expectations.
No, 195.
I mean, that feels like. Yeah, I mean, I think that's
bet you
super
he
achievable.
outscores that. Yeah.
But I feel like if you're going to consider him wide receiver 1, then the expectations it's like a 250 to 280 season.
I don't think that is. I mean, you guys may have
It's
that.
unrealistic.
Yeah, I think any type of like assumption like that for a rookie is just ridiculous.
What did
So
Waddle
you're-
do his first year? I think like
Waddle
Waddle
had a
rookie
huge
year
year.
is totally achievable. 100 catches, 1,000 yards, 6 TDs. That was Waddle's rookie year.
Oh.
I absolutely think he gets
It's like
close to like
250
100 yards, 100 catches in the year.
100%. I think it's definitely something that can be done, but I don't like with rookies. I just don't expect it. Like, if they put up Drake London type of rookie numbers like that, you have to expect that also, or at least consider that that's potentially something that can happen. Like 800 yards, 4 touchdowns. Like, very unimpressive numbers.
Yeah.
that's the thing that I worry. Like, you could have all this capital invested, and the first year could have a combined 200 points between his rookie wide receivers.
Yeah, it's possible, but it's really nice to, like with that, you have a fringe contender to like a contender team that is just going to get better through like dynasty rankings and like already knowing that that's going to be a thing.
Anyway, I mean, I'm just not going to rank a guy with that many rookies super high. Like, I think the Giants more than likely make some playoffs.
For sure.
I can't make him like fringe contender until I see Jonathan Brooks, Blake Corum, Blake Neighbors, Roma Dunze. Until I see if Rasheed Rice is literally in prison all year.
Oh no, I mean, I think he's going to be 1,000-yard receiver this year.
The biggest question mark outside of that though, too is I can't count on a single D end.
Hold on, now I gotta go back to Giants team again.
I think Owe, Floyd, and Davenport are fine. I would love one more.
Floyd's a top 10 defensive end as far as like redraft assessment.
What?
The rest are all at best, but have a chance of doing
Hold
something.
on, you keep going. I need to do something to try and enhance my perspective, to try and get to the level of RJ, because I just don't think I can get myself there. But give me a couple of minutes.
No, the Floyd being a top 10 defensive end in redraft is not because I'm stoned out of my mind.
He's had 9 or 10 sacks each of the last 4 seasons.
Yeah, he's just super consistent.
Yeah. And I think like Owe, Davenport, and Floyd are all like starting defensive ends for their teams.
Yeah,
Floyd
but
will rotate, of course, because the 49ers rotate a shit ton, but like they're all gonna get
problem
better.
is Owe basically just had the best season he's had of his career, and that's sub 100 point scoring. Davenport,
He missed like half the season.
I don't think he missed that. I owned him. He missed.
He got hurt week
chunk.
2 and didn't play again
Missed
until week
4
7.
games.
Yeah,
then
Justin
he had
Matabuke also
and I
had a
thought-
small sample size and exploded a year later on the same Baltimore.
I owned
line.
J-Man that year, and I knew he was going to be that good, so I traded for him before he started having that small sample size explode. Owe strikes me as a player that will never be more than at absolute best Yannick Ngakoue. And I don't think
That's
he'll ever
fine.
get there. I mean, he's
You
literally. Do you
He's
see
at
these
that
stats?
best, he'll be Yannick.
He's projected for 50 tackles and 14 sacks.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
I mean,
never happened.
I don't think he does that, but like if he ends up having like 8 sacks and 30 combined tackles, like that's definitely a stat line.
I mean,
Uh-huh.
what is he
That he
to
can
this point? What has he shown that makes you think that that's even in his?
He's employed by the Baltimore Ravens.
And they didn't bring in anyone to replace production with Clowney walking.
I mean, it just comes back to Penn State. They're just
Baltimore defensive ends are about as consistent as Colts linebackers. You can just
well. I mean, I wish that were true, except Tyus Bowser's no longer.
yeah, but for a couple of years, Bowser was productive. He was the guy that got the opportunities after they got rid of Judon.
I mean, I just don't like Penn State DNs in the NFL.
I don't care where they went to college.
I wish I had the confidence in my convictions as much as Colts does. I really do.
I mean, I've had some wins out there, man. Sam Laporte, I got made fun of for trading a first round pick for.
I respect it because I have some pretty loose takes also. So, sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong.
I'm not trying to insult. I'm just saying,
Yeah,
No, I know. I mean, that's how I'm always going to be. I'm basically never wrong until I'm wrong, and then that player doesn't exist and they don't matter. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, even if you're wrong, you just move on to the next hot take.
Exactly.
Always wrong, never in doubt. Yeah.
Exactly. I don't know. Giants laughed at me a little bit when I said Junior Colson has top 5 fantasy potential. I don't know.
You didn't say top 5. You said number 1 scoring linebacker.
Did I say number 1? Well, still, I think.
Yes.
Putting up a respectable point total is definitely in the range of outcomes.
Yes.
I don't know. Anytime you get a linebacker that's literally going from his college system that was ridiculously productive to the NFL where he is.
See, this is the fun part of the year when.
But you were just
people
talking.
do those projections. The stuff actually start putting names in roles in target numbers, and all of that into what they could possibly score this year, and say, yeah, this guy's a really intriguing talent, but unless he gets this level of target or this level of role, like, it's just not going to be there. And a lot of the stuff we're talking about here, it's like, I just don't see the volume. I don't see the role, and I don't see how they get there. So,
I'm sorry, which player? The wife came in.
There's been a couple of that have gone on here. I'd have to go back through, but I can see, this guy's intriguing in this role, and this guy's this. It's like, well, is he really? I don't know. You guys keep going, but let's keep rules and opportunity on the field in mind here as we make some of these proclamations.
Here's a fun take. Gabe Davis will score less than 100 points this season.
That seems. I mean, unless he gets injured, I don't think that's right.
I couldn't care less.
Christian Kirk, Evan Howard, or Evan Ingram, Brian Thomas Jr.
They all play for the Jaguars.
Mm-hmm.
Gabe Davis. I don't know if Gabe Davis is gonna get any opportunities in the field over those guys.
Well, we talked about my team enough for me to be content for us to move on to trades, Mike.
Has everyone else talked about their teams? Have we given them
I don't know. Tyrell Shavers is pretty good, man. That's all I got.
We haven't really talked about my team, but I'm not too worried about that.
What trade are we starting with in terms of talking about it?
I keep, waiting for RJ to find that deal, which lets him start to fill out everything else and kind of starts the domino of everyone kind of saying, "Oh shit, now this team is one I have to really be scared of." Like, I think he's got a very good team right now, but it's kind of like I think with the point you guys were trying to hit with me earlier. It's like, hey, he's a trade or two away from making this a real problem, and he's got a lot of different ways to make that trade right now. So that's the big thing with RJ's team.
Eagles' biggest problem is he keeps getting fucking pounded by injuries.
I do. That's one of the casualties of buying like pre-training camp. So like you have to know it's going to happen. That's why I haven't gotten rid of my 26 first. That's why I'm still sitting on like a second quarterback that I can move one of them if need be. It's all about just maintaining a little bit of flexibility while we, get to the last leg of the off season.
I don't hate it. I probably wouldn't get rid of those quarterbacks based on history.
I like both of them, and I'm comfortable with either one. Just going through the season, like we've said on the podcast, Mitchell Trubisky won a championship in this league, so a healthy but average Deshaun Watson could do just as well.
I think your biggest question is going to be, can you find a second running back outside of Barkley?
Yeah, that's what the first is sitting there waiting for. Just have to get to the 4th week of the preseason, so I don't buy a guy with
an injured
screwed up
person.
ACL.
Yeah, fair point.
I went into the offseason with that patience in mind, RJ, and then I lost patience. You're a better man than me.
I love
it is because you have been more patient in other years that we've competed that has made me just do this.
I mean,
iron sharpens iron.
Biggest advantage, I think, moving into this year is I feel like he has more depth than anyone in the league, other than running back. I mean,
my team?
Yeah, on your team. 3 200-point linebackers, 360-point corners. At least, I mean, losing Barmore actually really hurts. You got at least 2 or 3 startable D tackles, couple D ends, Collins, Jennings, Reddick, Blaze, and then your receivers are nuts. You got 3 250-point receivers.
Yep. Yeah, it's just finding another running back, and I mean, probably a defensive end.
I got Jerome Ford. Just saying.
Oh, we might have to talk then.
Might have to wait and see if Nick Chubb ends up playing at all the first couple weeks.
It's all right. He still can't move left or right, so it's fine.
I told you.
You only need to go forward, so you're okay.
This is true.
Just run directly into the linebackers and through them.
Forrest Gump style, yeah.
North-south, let's go.
All right, what trade are we starting with in terms of talking about it?
It's been Mike. Did we talk about any last week?
I think we did on the second run of this. Was that Tuesday and Wednesday last week, or was that?
No, last week we only did one. That was a Tuesday, because the week previous we had done 2 of them.
The Spiller trade was talked about for sure.
Oh, I didn't get to hear about that. What'd you guys think about that Spiller trade?
The Spiller trade?
Whoever bought Spiller.
Was it in chat that we talked about this?
Diamador Lenore for Isaiah Spiller? Come on. You can praise me. It's cool.
That did get discussed. I remember that. Because somebody mispronounced Diamador.
Got the 5th overall pick. Running out of the draft for.
Yeah, they were discussing retrading a bunch of 2nd and 3rd rounders for a first. Was discussed. I think the Panthers Eagles was discussed. So I think it's
No.
around either. I wanted to say it was the.
Yes. The Kenneth Murray,
Yeah.
Alex Hunt, I think was the last one that we talked about.
Mm-hmm. I think that's right. And we got another one in. Chris is back. All right, so
We skip the move and then we go to Saints Patriots.
yeah, let's go ahead and go to that one. Leonard Fournette and Khaleke Hudson with the Ravens first, the Pats third in 25, and the Ravens first in 26 for J.J. McCarthy and Bud Dupree.
So somebody said that they thought this was a cheap JJ.
I think
And
it's very cheap.
really?
Yeah.
Like,
I do.
is it just because we're assuming that both of the Ravens firsts are late?
Well,
Yeah.
that and the fact that you don't have to give up first in the same year, and you're getting.
Well, the 20
Listen, what's that?
There's one of the first is a 25.
That's what I'm saying. So you have a 25 first and a 20. You don't have to be like, here's both the first round picks I own in 2025 to get this player. You get to spread that pain out a little bit. And then Bud Dupree, I mean, it's not like he's going to put up 250 points anymore, but that's a rotational DN on a line that put up a lot of sacks last year.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought JJ at 2 first round picks was fine. I thought like if Bud Dupree went for a 3rd round pick, I thought that was a little low. But
It's a problem.
I don't hate the idea of JJ going for 2 first round picks.
When JJ was
I think-
first drafted, I offered at least that amount to trade up one spot. And it didn't
You
happen.
did not offer me 2 firsts to trade up one spot.
I offered you a top 10 first,
And one
and
that he
you
was
said-
telling
which
you
is
was gonna-
equivalent to 2 late first. But I get where you come from. You didn't want to move off JJ because he was the last of that tier. I don't blame you. But the fact that he went from being the 7th overall pick, who really wasn't very acquirable, to now, because let's be honest, even if the Ravens tank the following year, this year he's no better than what, 122?
Yeah,
the
I mean
draft?
that's exactly
Well,
it was like 2 years of like 124, 122, something like that. Like it's not amazing, but it's not terrible either.
Are we sure he makes the playoffs?
The Ravens? No.
Yep.
But it doesn't take much to break his direction to make.
Right.
So if he doesn't
Because-
make the playoffs, he's at best 1-8 or worst 118.
But that's very achievable.
Right.
How many teams do you think don't make the playoffs that end up with a better record or better point total than the Ravens?
No.
I don't think
No,
anyone.
yeah.
I mean, you're looking at players, you're looking at teams like me, you're looking at teams like the potentially the Bills, if the Jets run away with that division. You're looking at teams like the Niners and the Rams. Neither of those teams are going to be beating the Ravens out. You got a lot of teams that are just mediocre to bad. And the Ravens, who's a truly good team who'd win just about any other division, who might miss because the Bengals, the Browns, and the Steelers are just a freaking buzzsaw to get through the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean I don't hate the idea of 2 playoff firsts for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's say best case
If I was-
scenario.
As the
It's-
JJ owner, I would expect more or like wait for more.
For sure.
Yeah. That's my problem is like, if you're going to move him for 2 mid firsts, let's say best case scenario, it's 115 twice. If you're going to move him for 2 mid firsts anyways, why not just wait, play a little bit of the risk, and then if he comes out hot in the season, suddenly it's not 2 mid firsts, it's a high first and a mid first. You know?
Well,
Saints also has his 26, the Pats 26 first. Like I would have just made that like a requirement to be involved.
I agree.
yeah.
If you're moving a piece like a quarterback, you have to be getting your own picks.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can't blame the Pats. He's having fun. He's just doing his thing, you know. That's just what he does every year. He has some fun with it.
Sagan Alobi and Chamari Connor just Sagan for Chamari Connor and a Seahawks 4th next year. See if
Some
she's
names.
strange chance, nobody cares. Derek Forrest got stolen. Let's see, Pats 3rd and 25, and the Ravens 1st in 26 for Ben Sinnott. So
So that's most of what he just traded JJ for.
Some
At
of
least
we-
half. At least half.
That's yeah.
I mean, I don't believe in the player, but other people like him and think very
he's-
highly of him.
He's essentially making the Sam Laporta risk. Is this guy going to be a tight end one? And I just moved to first.
So again, it's I'm all for making the bet, but JJ McCarthy was what, the 108 this year?
107.
107. So you just traded the 107, and for half the return, you got the 130 back.
Yes.
Okay, but you
And
got
a third. High third.
right, you got to be damn sure that what you've got on the other side of that deal is making money.
Yeah.
I mean, this is why I traded Laporta. I was very sure. And I figured if I moved Laporta with the pieces I had, at worst, he's looking at a mid pick, 115, 118. The Patriots, that third round pick is going to be pretty high. And the Ravens now own their own 2026 first, which is really smart from their part. They can turn that into a top 10. And if for the Patriots, if that happens a year from now and the Ravens have no pieces on their team and they're a top 5 pick, Sino better be a 300-point tight end, or that's brutal.
I don't see any. Why would the Ravens be a top 10 pick?
I'm saying he owns his own 2026 first now. He might decide if he can't win this year, if he gets through the season, he didn't make the playoffs or he got bounced the first round or something. He's like, oh well, I own my own pick next year. I might as well blow it up. And he trades Tyreek, he trades Tua, he trades all his defensive players, and he just blows it up. And then the Patriots is looking at that pick. They say, "Oh, wow, that could have been a top 10 pick."
Oh, understood. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not saying if he didn't own that pick, he probably wouldn't make that. But Tyreek did say he's retiring after this season, right?
Who?
No, he just signed an extension.
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, he just signed an extension.
He signed an extension after 2 years ago. He said he's retiring at the end of his deal.
Yeah, he's gonna make like $100 million over the next 4 years.
He didn't lie. They extended his deal, so it's just
Same deal, just more
My
years
bad,
added
my
to it.
bad. Well, either way, then now, if the Ravens can't get over the hump this year, then he owns his own pick. He can just say, you know what? I'm going to move Tyreek for a first. I'm going to move Tua for a couple firsts. And I'm going to move all these guys, and I'm going to have options. Because I look at is it the Dolphins with 72,000 picks next year in the next 2 years? That's a team that could buy the entire Ravens and run away with his division for the next 5 years easily.
That's assuming you want all those picks and can fit them on your team.
Sure. No, I'm saying the Dolphins moves those picks for basically the Ravens roster.
Maybe.
I mean, if you're the Dolphins and you're in the division you are, I mean, you have half of the Ravens team and you're winning that division easily.
Sure.
So, anyway, that's just my opinion. I don't know. What do I know?
All right, so going on up, I traded Austin Stogner because Ravens wanted to dump Wingard, and I got a 5th for my effort. So, hooray! Giants and Saints. Giants moving Tolbert and Braswell to the Saints for Dotson and Hayden Hurst. Saints just wanted to start getting 15 trade offers from Panthers a day, so it makes sense to me.
That's a solid profit on Braswell.
Yeah, I really like Dotson. And I'm sad now. I feel like I need a defensive end because I do like Braswell, but got some tight end points. Hurst should be the pass catching tight end for now. Fingers crossed.
I thought Dotson was the valuable thing in that trade, even though he's nice, but he has a week 14 bye. So I already have way too many of those. So in my eyes, he's worth like half of what he should be.
This is the second year that Washington has had a week 14 bye.
Yeah, it's New England had the same thing. It's ridiculous.
Hayden Hurst, I'm a Chargers fan, so I'm always going to be a little more optimistic than everyone else about my players. But feels like one of the most underreported stories in the entire offseason is Hayden Hurst absolutely dominating the tight end position for the Chargers. Yeah. He's 31,
Oh,
so that should automatically give him an advantage over some of these guys. And let's be honest, Herbert and the Chargers love tight ends. Harbaugh loves tight ends. Hurst could very easily end up slipping inside the top 8 for tight end scorers.
oh,
Hey, I mean,
excuse
You'd have
me.
to clear 300 yards to do that.
basically, yeah. That's
Nobody
it.
asked you, Chris.
I don't know if that's possible.
Speaking
Yeah,
of carrying
I-
300 yards, Taysom Hill getting moved for Zach Cunningham, Dallas Flowers, and a third.
Ouch. Shut down.
Taysom Hill might have 300 all-purpose yards.
That's kind of what I'm feeling. And hey, because I'm a giver, and when you get the opportunity to unite Big Cock Brock with Big Knob Dobbs in the same quarterback room, you have to do it.
I can't believe you got him for free.
That's kind of crazy, but at the same time, let's be honest. Purdy's had one injury. The odds of Dobbs starting is like 0. So,
Mike, did
Mike-
you offer this, or did you didn't even add a fifth? You're just like, no, I'm gonna just take him for free.
He
So-
offered it in the group chat.
So basically, yeah, when it was clear that the deal was happening for Bryce, I did the math, and he had to drop a quarterback, and I just said to him, okay, I'll take Dobbs for free, and sent him the offer. And literally, while I was giving blood, it got accepted, and that's when the whole blow up was like, "Oh, Mike, you have to drop a quarterback." Happened. Like, okay, I'm literally getting 2 pints of blood pumped out of me. Can I get a second? But then, yeah, here we are, and Dobbs is back on the Vikings where he belongs. It's a beautiful thing. All right, and then Colts getting a profit on Bryce and
Sure.
Renfro for Javon Baker, Peyton Wilson, and the Eagles first. I just love this.
I'm a huge fan,
It's
obviously.
a good trade.
I know that there's a
I
lot of
also, I
smoke
think
out of
it's pretty good
camps.
value for Chargers too.
I think it's a good deal all around.
But again, this is the my plea to Chargers earlier this offseason was just let this team grow together. Like, you've got years, you've got enough cap, you've got what you need. Like, let your team grow together and start assembling around this. And these were, 3 decent sized pieces of what he was building there to go get Bryce Young in a year where right now, I don't know if I would take Bryce Young over the top 3 quarterbacks next year.
What?
I don't know if I would. If I was
I mean,
in a
but
favorite
it-
league right now.
He has that option still. Right? He still owns his own first. The odds of Bryce Young kicking him up into a worse than top 3 pick is pretty low. So if Young pops, then it's great. He can use that pick on a skill position. If he bombs, then he still has that first round pick, and all he's really out is 2 late firsts and a second.
So I'm thinking kind of from an NFL perspective here. So Dobbs is not Dobbs. I'm sorry. Young for me is in that tier where he's got one. He's in that Zach Wilson zone right now. He had a bad first year, but it can be blamed on something. If he has a bad second year here, what does Carolina do going into the offseason next year?
He's the first overall pick. He's not going to get given up on for at least 3 seasons.
Are we sure?
2.5, maybe.
I mean, pretty sure. Right, 2.5 would be the 3rd season, so maybe halfway through his 3rd season. But at the end of the day, you traded the 9th overall pick, DJ Moore, and the 1st overall pick the following year for this quarterback. You, as a franchise, can't afford to not at least give him a good 2.5, 3 seasons.
Yeah, but that's a sunk cost.
Sure, you can.
Yeah.
That's a sunk cost.
Yeah.
Well, what do you
NFL
mean?
teams don't think that way? Businesses don't think that way.
Well,
And
I-
investment
like-
something and that went tits up. I got to move on. I got to figure.
I understand that, but I'm saying, what's your alternative? If they finish top 2 this next year, that they draft a quarterback,
They go pay
No.
Dak next offseason.
Then whenever
they
the
just never win in the playoff.
I
whenever
believe
the
Zach
teams-
Wilson was mentioned as a comparison, which is very
whenever they're remodeling of their stadium, whenever that construction's complete, if their quarterback isn't the face of the franchise and a stud, they will replace him with somebody that will be that.
Yeah, I think a better comparison to Bryce Young would be Lawrence rather than Zach Wilson. First overall pick, terrible situation the first year, absolutely bombed, did not look good. They brought in a great coach, overhauled the offense, paid a receiver, they got linemen in, and he looked good.
Who was the
Now-
player you mentioned?
Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, Trevor Lawrence.
Now, has Lawrence ever truly lived up to the pedigree of the next Andrew Luck? I don't think so. What?
Oh no,
Hey, welcome to that club.
No.
They called him the best prospect since Andrew Luck. I don't think he's ever even sniffed Andrew Luck levels of good.
You're correct. He was overhyped, just like Caleb Williams is overhyped. Like,
Yeah, and Bryce Young was overhyped. So is he going to
Bryce Young was nowhere ever near.
No, he wasn't as hyped as Trevor Lawrence, but he was hyped as the first overall pick for the entire year. I mean, there was never really an argument of anyone going first.
I will agree
No,
there.
there was a huge argument. Yeah,
yeah, there was no clear cut QB1 this year
I'm just not.
or last year.
So, can somebody explain to me why Deneric Prince is worth a second round pick?
I don't know. I offered a third for him
No.
at some point, so I can't say it's an awful trade.
No, it's awful. I tried to steal him from Taxi, and it's awful. And maybe he winds up being something. And I actually drafted him in the year where he was a rookie, but it doesn't make any sense.
good on Bears.
Yeah. No, but it's one of those things where, like I said, there's a lot of things in the preseason I missed because I'm not paying close enough attention at this point. And at 32 camps, I just can't. But like, is he running with the twos?
He's more than likely going to be the backup running back.
Yeah, I think he's out snapping Clyde.
Yeah.
And they don't have McKinnon anymore. So like theoretically he's the RB2. But everything that they've been saying is that Pacheco is going to be just the bell cow, and there's not going to be so much of a committee. Which, I mean, Andy Reid offenses, like, they used to just have a bell cow, but the last, X number of years, it's been a committee.
He'll be the second highest scoring running back with the most snaps on the team because
think-
Strong will play fullback a lot of the time because he's an exceptional blocker.
The
Or
I
risk
know
is
steals,
this is
really
the
sorry.
low.
price. This is the price you pay when, like, he has, like, 10 touches a game for, like, a couple weeks.
Right.
But
But I mean,
it's
what's the
possible,
risk?
right?
What's the risk for the Saints? It's the 26th first for a guy who just had like 6 picks in the top 10. I mean, the Giants is probably going to be a back end first round pick, 1.28, 1.29, 1.3.
Sure. I mean,
So-
you could say that there's. I wouldn't say there's no risk by any means. I mean,
But it's a back end second.
What could you get for a second round pick? You could probably get a wide receiver 2 who's a little bit older, maybe.
Maybe. Or you could take a chance on a running back in a team that notoriously hasn't really been paying running backs the last couple of years. In a year, who knows? Deneric Prince could be the starter.
All right, let's talk about the deal everyone wants to talk about. Marvin Harrison, Carl Brooks, and Isaiah Simmons for Dr. Foreman, Daryl Hodge, Quez Watkins, Roman Wilson, the Pats 25 first, and the Eagles 25 first.
Man, you guys really put a high value on my first, huh?
No, I didn't.
I know, I'm joking.
That's
From my point of view, Patriots have been teasing me about Marvin, and I've been teasing them back about Marvin for a while. And then after I acquired the Pats first, it had been kind of talked about back and forth very peripherally, like, hey, maybe you want this first for Marvin. And then all of a sudden, just out of the blue, he offered me Javon Baker, the Pats first and the Eagles first. And I went, and he kind of made a little winky face, like 2 firsts and a second. And I like Javon Baker a lot. So I sent back Roman and 2 firsts. And I was like, how about 3 firsts? And it just went off from there.
Yeah.
I don't know. From my point of view, I have a hard time passing up a prospect like that when it's 2 late firsts and a first that I can't really count on being top 10 because the Patriots are psycho and they might end up flipping Marvin Harrison for 9 vets and trying to compete.
Yeah, I don't have any issue with this at all. Like, I don't know if Wilson's gonna retain his first value, but I don't hate the assessment right now.
Yeah, I like.
Has he really been that bad in camp?
Huh?
Has he really been that bad in camp?
He was carted off like a week ago.
He had
He
ankle
just did the
sprain.
walking boot 3 days ago,
Yeah.
apparently.
Yep. So he had an ankle sprain. They said it wasn't severe. And with all this talk about the Pickens Ayuk potentially being swapped, there was a lot of question marks if like maybe Roman ends up being the wide receiver 3, and then it's just Ayuk, Pickens, and him. And from my point of view, I drafted Wilson to be the wide receiver 2 in Pittsburgh, or traded for him to be the wide receiver 2 in Pittsburgh. If suddenly it's now Ayuk, Pickens, Roman, there's a lot less value there. I didn't really want to take that risk in case the Steelers did end up moving.
Nothing's done yet.
I agree, but they don't have enough capital invested in Roman Wilson to definitively say he's a wide receiver 2 and not move right.
It's just their current depth. They don't have anybody else.
True.
It's really unfortunate for what they want to accomplish, but
I mean, it's a risk. Roman could end up being the wide receiver 2. Who knows? Roman could get moved for Ayuk with the first,
Yeah.
and then he's the wide receiver 2 in
no.
the Niners offense, and now it looks a lot worse.
There is zero reason for the Steelers to bring in a receiver to add to their core just to move one to do so. That makes zero fucking sense.
Well, the only
Or they're
context
tired
it
of
makes
Pickens.
sense in is
They're not
that
moving
context.
Pickens. There is no reason to move him either. You're trying to pair someone with him. This is nonsense. Like,
It's just, it comes down to
Sounds
the
like the
locker room.
Pickens owner to me.
It's
it
not.
sounds like a Steelers fan.
I don't disagree with you, especially as a football fan. I think that Pickens and Ayuk should be how the Steelers try to run things. But front offices and coaching staffs have a different opinion if that player is causing trouble. And if
No,
you look at
I don't
Odell Beckham on the Giants,
I think it's just a matter of figuring out whatever they have to figure out because Tomlin was very, very, very sheepish this morning, and it was quite fucking hilarious.
what did he say? It's still early on the West Coast.
Yeah, it's still, no, that was on a radio show, and then he did his
Okay.
presser, and he's like, "I'll let you guys write whatever you want," and he had like this like shit-eating grin, and I was like, "Oh my god, he knows."
How did a trade for Marvin Harrison get into Steelers talk?
Roman Wilson.
Because of freaking
It's the
Roman
price
Wilson.
we pay.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, 3 firsts for Marv is good, right? Like on
Yeah.
face value, when you're moving, a JJ, a CD, like 3 firsts is what it takes. So like getting the value back in 24 and 25 picks as well is decent, but he got his pick back. I think that's like the best part of this is like that pick can become a top 5 pick, but he seems to want to build, so he seems to want to spend his picks. So I think it's going to depend on like where he ends up.
I mean, right now, I think it's a top 5. Personally, I look at his team.
Yeah.
I think it's a top 5 pick. Personally. So I guess it just depends. Does he want to try to flip that for, an Penix or another quarterback he likes, like May, or?
All right, so then I pay Bill a second for BJ.
Hope it was worth it.
Saints pays Seahawks a second for Jacob Cowing because Niners wide receivers are all the rage right now.
Was he a second round pick? Probably, right? In our league?
Yeah, early second, I think.
I don't think he was.
Slayton for
Was he?
Nico Remigio and Carl Phillips. Slayton just got picked. Why was there a bidding war on to Daryl Slayton?
Because he's out snapping the number, like Carl Brooks, who's the presumed number 2 D tackle.
Okay, so he might be the number 2 defensive tackle in New Orleans or Green Bay. Got it.
Cohen was the
Rankins and
315.
2 guys who were seconds. One was a second and a second round pick for Christian Wilkins.
Yeah, it's a good trade for Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
Cohen was the 315 for what it's worth. So Seahawks turned the 315 into a future second.
All right, Buccaneers third for. Wait. Okay. Why is Easton Stick being looked at for third?
Because Seahawks has Herbert.
Yeah. But
That's a lot for a backup QB.
Is he the backup in?
He is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, I mean, Herbert is hurt. So maybe it's a little bit of insurance there just in case that lingers into closer to
Been
the
hurt
season.
the last 2 years. Ribs, fingers, hands. I don't hate it.
Feelings.
Give them at least a starter. No, that's just Chargers fans. It gives them a starter if Herbert goes down, which, based on the last couple of years, is very possible. The line's a lot better, but he seems to be a fragile. He's like Burrow right now, where they're kind of freak injuries, but you never really know.
All right, and then fourth and the third for third and the fourth. Okay, we're at 2 hours now, like, right?
Yeah, we are. I actually got to get going, by the way. So thanks for having me on.
All right, so we're going to close this down. We're going to go on the podcast channel so people can jump in and out as they need to and aren't dependent on me to keep things open. But appreciate the longer than normal pod. Hopefully this is enough content to satisfy everyone after a inconsistent couple of weeks. And, let's see what trouble we can get into after the pod here. But thanks all for joining and good conversation.